Let's talk about how to speak to the whole person in our teaching. Now, we talk about in our teaching that we want to be engaging, and that means we want to engage all kinds of different people, but at the same time, we want to engage every element of a person, the whole person. So we think about three aspects of human personality: the mind, the emotions, and the will. And it's easy to focus on one or the other, depending maybe on your personality or style, but I think it's important to engage the whole person. So I want to teach in a way that engages the mind. After all, the Bible starts with truth. The Bible is truth, and it presents us with important concepts of God's will for our lives. And so we want to help people in our teaching to understand the truth, to make it clear, to make it, to connect the dots for people so we're really engaging their mind. But at the same time, we don't want to neglect the emotions. We want to teach in a way that engages people emotionally, because God has made us emotional creatures. In fact, the Bible addresses the emotional life in many, many different places, in many different ways. For example, Philippians talks about joy. It talks about anxiety and worry. 2 Corinthians talks about despair and sorrow. And so I want to engage emotional life, and so I want to bring that into how I talk. So I might talk about how, this is an exciting idea I want to share with you, or I'm so encouraged when I think about these things, or when I'm afraid, or when I'm discouraged, then here's something that makes a difference from God's Word. So I'm engaging people emotionally. Now, part of emotion is motivation. So I want to inspire people. I want to connect with people's aspiration. And so I might want to talk about how I know you want to pursue God more fully in your life, or I know you want to be a great parent. And that speaks to the emotional element of motivation. And then third, I want to teach in a way that engages the will. We have to make choices. The will is how we choose to do, what we choose to do with what we've heard, and how we're going to put it into practice. And so part of that, it might be encouraging people to make a choice in response to the gospel. What are they going to do with the good news they've heard? Are they going to follow Jesus? But it's also talking about any fitting application that flows out of the perspective that we've been talking about in that passage. Now, you got to keep it focused. There's a million different things you could say. You want to engage different people, but at the same time, you want to keep that application focused so that people have a clear idea of what to do next. And so I use just a real simple tool to help me make sure I'm engaging the whole person. I just ask these set of simple questions, and I could apply it to any point in the sermon. I could say, how does this speak to the mind? How does this speak to the emotions? How does this speak to the will? That's my simple tool that I use. Now, not every point is going to speak to all of those parts of human personality in the same way. There's some passages that speak to the mind mainly, and some that speak directly to the will or to the emotions. And a lot of that depends on, what the tone and the tenor of the biblical passage is. But as I look at my message as a whole, I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the whole person, the whole personality. It's not just academic only, that it's not just an emotional furor, or it's not just directed only to the will. And so throughout the course of my preparation, I want to make sure that I don't neglect any part of a human being's soul. And so I'm going to ask throughout, am I addressing the mind, the will, and the emotions? Am I speaking to the whole person?